So now we're going to add color, but we don't want to add it on to this particular drawing. We're going to mess with layers. And if you'll notice right here where the plus sign is, that is going to add in another layer. You see it's added a blank square right above your original drawing. Layers are like transparent pieces of paper all stacked on one another. If something's on top, it covers up what's below it. So what we're going to do is drag your sketch above the blank piece. Okay? Now the reason we're doing this is because we don't want the sketch to be part of the final artwork. And we're going to work on different layers so that we can use the sketch as a guide, but not have it in the final. Now down here in the bottom left, below the pencil, the black dot, you're able to choose colors. I just wanted to show you that right now. We're going to get more into that later. Up in the top of the screen, you'll see a little backward arrow. That is going to be our undo button. That's what's going to allow us to kind of get rid of things, erase them, yada, yada, yada. But let's get back to um, working on the right layer. You always want to make sure that you're selecting the correct layer to paint on so that you're not painting on top of the drawing itself, but on a separate layer. I'm going to paint in the sky because you want to start with what's furthest away and then build close. Now the sky I have is kind of overcast. It's not nice and blue like what we typically think of. It's gray and kind of yucky outside. So I want to try and get the exact color that I want. And I'm looking back and forth between my color wheel and the sky. Now I'm not going to do this all with the pencil tool. If you look at the toolbar on the left, you'll be able to scroll up and down. I'm going to use the tool that is the charcoal blender. Do you see it right there? Now you can change the size of it to whatever size you want. I'm going to go back and forth, and it's very important to use different sizes here because they give you a different level of control. So here I am just coloring in a base coat for what's going to be my sky. But just to make it look a little more natural, I'm going to go back and select that color that I had. And I'm going to choose something a little bit lighter. Let's find the right one. And that looks all right. Yeah, so I'm going to put this on top of it in some areas. It's tough to see, but it is getting added, and it does add just enough to make it look a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to go onto the roof that I'm seeing. It's not a black roof. It's kind of a weird purple grayish color. And I'm looking back and forth at my color wheel on the iPad and what I'm seeing in real life, trying to find a suitable base color for this. So I've got this kind of like weird purpley color, and I'm just gonna just slap it on there. I'm not too worried about going over the edges of my window frame. I'm going to deal with that later. But I am going to come in and use a smaller brush to kind of crisp up the edges and build up that color a little bit more. I don't want it to be too blurry. When it's something like a house, you think about it being, very crisp edges. It's not a soft, gentle fade like a cloud. But with this roof, I can also start to see a little bit of detail, like where the shingles are, things like that, where some of the shadows are. So I'm going to select a darker color to kind of uh, bring some of that texture to life. Every object that we see has a dark and a light. When it's this far away, that's maybe all you can make out. As it gets closer, you see a lot of the medium colors too. So when we start to really see things up close, we want to make sure that things have a dark, a medium, and a light. But here I'm just kind of drawing in and hinting at the idea of shingles. I'm not drawing each individual shingle. Whoa, okay, wow. All right, so I just took away the sketch part. I just hid the layer. You can see the eye kind of strike through. You can just click on that eye in the top left and it hides the layer. I've got a lot of work to do because when I took the sketch away, it looks awful. So I need to come in, make sure I'm on the right layer. Gosh, that's frustrating. It happens almost all the time too. Make sure you're always drawing on the correct layer. But I'm going to use a small brush and I'm going to show you how to kind of come back in here. If you click that eyedropper in the top right hand of your color wheel, it creates these crosshairs and it just selects a color that you drag it over. So that is a super handy tool to just grab a color that you've already used before. You can just move those crosshairs on top of any color and it selects it and puts it on your brush. Super handy. But anyway, I've got my color for the base of the roof and I want to make sure that I have the right size here, and I'm going to start adding in a little more definition into the roof. You can see how it's crisp now. It's not as blurry as it looked. I'm going to come in and add some shadows too and get some separation between the awning and the main roof. Maybe add even another dark in there. You know how we talked about dark, medium, light? All these shapes have darks and mediums and lights. Okay, I can start building that separation, and I'm just using that pen to just kind of draw it in on top of this stuff. So it's getting close to where I want it, I think, since most of this is going to be covered up anyway. Yeah, that looks a lot better, I think, in lines with what we had. See you in a minute.